Hey guys, welcome back. It's Josh with the Financial Advisor Car Guy. So everybody knows about the stock market, and if you've been watching the channel even just a little bit, you kind of understand that that's what I do for a living. I am a financial advisor and do a lot of financial planning, and to do so, we generally take people's money and invest it. And we utilize several different stock indexes to help give us an idea of future performance, right? So when we're building out a portfolio, we might use the Dow Jones or the S&P or the NASDAQ and whatever it is, right? So with that in mind, I want to share with you guys something unique on the automotive side of that world. And what it is the company Hagerty has their own automotive indexes. And it's fascinating because what they've done is they've gone back in time and tracked the performance of certain cars. The way they do that is when something sells, it's documented, and they have a running total of what cars in these indexes sell for. So, for example, let's talk about supercars, right? There's a supercar index that has a number of supercars, supercars. And if, let's call it a Ferrari F40 sells for $2 million, and a year later it sells for $3 million, and those are the only sales that they're running and the only sales that they're tracking, maybe for lack of a better term, they would tell you that the average sale increased by 50%, right? 50% of 2 million is 1 million. And then the most recent sale would have been 3 million. So they would tell you that, okay, the Ferrari market is strong. Those F40s are now selling for 50% more than they did a year ago. And they do the tracking. Now that's just for one car, one sale, or well, two sales in that regard. But if you can conceptualize every time one of these cars on one of their indexes sells, they run the math behind the scenes. They've got algorithms and they use AI and all those things to generate a total and a value, and they put it to an index and they chart it. So if you look, you can Google it, just the Hagerty, supercar index or whatever it is. They've got a number of indexes, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But you'll see that over time, the supercar index has actually outpaced the S&P 500, which to me, the S&P 500 is one of the best ways to kind of see how our economy is doing, because it's an index made up of 500 companies. If you look at the Dow Jones, for example, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is what the news always talks about. The Dow is up, the Dow is down, whatever the news is that they're trying to share with us. Well, the Dow only has 30 companies, and it's a very strategic set of 30 companies representing all sectors and all industry. So if you think of it on a big scale, the reason that the Dow exists is to give us kind of a snapshot of what the world's doing, because again, it's a strategic mix of these 30 companies. But I would tell you that we live in a world where there's volatility all the time. And so there's seasonality, there's lots of different things that go into why one sector or one industry might be down in a certain part of the year. As opposed to something like today where technology and AI are just fueling the market. So all the AI companies, a lot of technology are doing well. Some of these companies are hitting all-time highs. You look at NVIDIA and Palantir and some of these other companies just in the last 2 weeks have soared to new all-time highs. And really, we don't necessarily think that's going to slow down much. It will have some volatility, but those companies are continuing to advance. So again, you flip to the car side of things, and as time goes on, vintage cars, classic cars, even limited late model cars only tend to climb in value because of scarcity and supply and demand. Every time one is wrecked, it may not be rebuilt. And if it is, it's got a branded title or a reconstructed title, and it's not going to bear the same value that it would have in better condition. So it's an interesting situation, but these supercars are kind of a cool alternative investment. And you can look at these indexes. Hagerty's been doing this for, I don't know what the year is, 20, 25, 30 years, something like that. They've been tracking this stuff for a long time. And you can see, again, they trend upwards. Now, you'll see times where they've dipped, or, it's not a smooth line up. They go up and down just like the stock market. But a lot of it, again, it's supply and demand. And you'll find that a lot of the sequence of returns tracks nicely with the stock market, because you think of a car as an equity or as an asset. And if the economy is struggling or people need to adjust their assets, they might sell a vehicle, a collector's car or whatever it is, to free up some capital. Now, that might coincide perfectly with a market crash, right? If I need to have cash on hand and I've got a car that's paid for, I could sell the car to generate the cash. And if the market is down, maybe I look at it as an opportunity to shift from one asset to another. So maybe instead of having, a garage full of supercars, I sell one, take the cash, the market plummets or dips, I take that cash and now put it back into the market, wait for the market to rally back, and now I've just grown my assets inside of my stock portfolio, only getting rid of one of maybe many supercars or whatever the situation is. So it is kind of fascinating how they trend similar but different. And Hagerty has taken it kind of a step further. And instead of just having a supercar index, they've got, American car index, Japanese car index, European car index. They have a Ferrari specific index. They have classic muscle car index. They've got I think it was called affordable classics. And those are cars like 40,000 and under. And those are going to probably be a little bit more changing, right? They're going to be adding cars and taking cars off the list. If they exceed that $40,000 threshold, I believe they remove them, and then they make room for a new car to add. So some of those get more into the weeds than I want to get here in the video. I just wanted to kind of share the concept and let you know that if you're looking for an alternative asset that you can own and enjoy, go to the Hagerty website, just Google Hagerty Index, and it'll pull up a list of all the indexes. You can click on the Japanese one. Let's say you want to buy a Supra or an Evo or something like that. You can see what the pricing has done over the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And I mean, it's incredible. And I believe it gets into the weeds enough if you click through that, let's say you're looking for an Evo, and let's say the index says, a 2000, I don't know the years exactly, but let's say a 03 to 06 is an Evo 8. Well, it might say that the Evo 8 had an MSRP of $39,000 in 2003, but by 2010, maybe they bottomed out at 18.9, and then since then they've climbed. It should graph all that for you, and it's going to give you all the deets and all the information that you'd ever want, and it's pretty cool. I haven't spent a ton of time digging through, but I think I was just scrolling through my feed on Facebook or something, and I saw an ad for the supercar index, and that one gravitated me in. I thought, man, what a cool concept. And so I'm reading about it and learning about the cars and all the things that are on that list. And then I realized, but wait, there's more. Truly, there were like 7 or 6 or some odd other indexes that I didn't even know existed. I just went for the supercar one, which, again, is fascinating enough as it is. But again, you can get really into the specifics. And let's say you want a European car. Well, maybe you want to know how BMW M5s have tracked, or M3s, or whatever it is. You can go on there, find the car if it's on the index, and then again look at the plot map and see how it's appreciated or depreciated over time. And then base your strategic buy on, does it make sense? I want to say that well, I don't want to say, because I don't know the specifics, but I think it's an annual assessment. I think they review all the cars on the list annually. And if for whatever reason they feel the desire or the need to add a car, take a car away, whatever, they adjust the index accordingly. So it's not like you've got one car that's just shooting through the roof, like a Ferrari F40, it did have a couple of years. I mean, I want to say, the stat I read, I want to say that during COVID, you could pick up a Ferrari F40 for under $1 million. And that's 5 years ago, right? 2020. Today, you'd be lucky to find one. I think the cheapest recent sale is like 2.9 or right at $3 million. So in theory, in the last 5 years, of F40 has tripled. That's wild. The F50 has done almost the same. I think it's a little bit behind. I think it was a $2 million car during COVID, and now it's like a $5 million car. So it's not quite the same, but it's still more than doubled in the last 5 years. And so anyway, the long and short of it is, it's a fascinating thing. If you guys have never looked at it, do it. Even if you never use the data for anything other than entertainment purposes, it's pretty cool to look at. And you can truly see how year over year over year, investing in supercars and exotics and muscle and antiques and whatever, all these cars that are, on this index, they would have made you money. I don't know that there's a single car on there that's a standalone car that wouldn't have at least broken even over the last several years. And so, I mean, to me, if I want to buy a car as an investment, honestly, I can't tell you there's a better resource out there. They have done all the numbers, they've done all the research, all the math to show truly which cars have the best trajectory of return. So my R8, right? I can go to Car Gurus and they'll do the same thing for any car. It'll plot the map of every car that was publicly sold for the year or for a time frame of up to 5 or 10 years even. It'll do a dot map and it'll tell you what the average price is. So it might not give you a graph or a chart quite the same way that the Hagerty index does, but it might tell me that, okay, my 2009 R8 was a $65,000 car 4 years ago when I bought it. It might still today be a $65,000 car. What a wash, right? But using that as my example, I still don't think I lost, because if my car today is worth what I paid 4 years ago, what that tells me is that the only cost was any insurances, any fuel, any interest maybe I paid on the loan, any upgrades. That's about it, right? Any storage costs or transport fees or whatever. I mean, you can get into the weeds, maintenance costs and stuff like that. You can get into the weeds, but that's all just the cost of enjoyment, right? That's the cost of ownership. If I buy an asset and can sell the asset for the same value or the same price, man, that's not a loss. That's totally a win. And then again, my monthly whatever expenses on the vehicle, that's what it costs to enjoy. And so let's use my R8 as the example. And I'm sorry if I keep looking down, the car is right below you. If I paid $65 for it 4 years ago and I sold it today for $65, so all things being what it is, just dead wash, I could literally figure out, and the fuel would be the tricky one, but I mean, I know what kind of mileage I get on the car and I know how many miles I've put on the car, so I could probably get somewhat close. I could do some math, but if I ran the numbers on what my monthly insurance bill is, how much interest is being charged to my loan every month, figure out, what the, again, fuel cost, it's like less than a tank a month for sure, like one tank every 2 or 3 months. Any other obscure costs, and then do all the upgrades. I've got receipts and an invoice or whatever for everything I've done to the car. So I can take that and divide it by, let's say I've owned it 48 months exactly, divided by 48, that'll break down to really exactly what my cost was for this car every month. And let's say, again, round numbers, I'm making this up. Let's say it works out to be $200 between insurance, fuel, interest, whatever, all the things, right? $200. That's probably not super far off, but that's a ballpark. If I got to drive an Audi R8 for 4 years, costing me $200 a month, that's a huge win. Because a car payment is $1,000 anymore, right? You go buy a brand new anything, you're gonna pay $800 to $1,000 a month for something that's not an Audi R8, that's for sure, right? I mean, we pay a lot more than 200 bucks a month for my wife's Mach-E, and I mean, it's a fun, nice, great new car, but it's not an R8. So all that to say, these indexes are very cool for giving you an idea of a good collectible car or a good car that's gonna hopefully increase in value while you own it, while you use it, while you enjoy it. And obviously, the supercar market's a little bit different because realistically, low miles helps the value. So if you've got, I've had my R8, I've had it for 4 years. I've put less than 4,000 miles on it. That's pretty low. Now, I mean, I didn't buy it with super low miles. I bought a driven car because I wasn't planning to keep miles off of it, but just the way my life works, I just don't drive it as often as I thought maybe I would. And so, again, I haven't put a lot of miles on this thing, but that doesn't mean, it's depreciated extra rapidly or less than maybe its competitors. 1,000 miles a year is pretty low. And the car itself is 16 years old, and I've got like 43,000 and change miles on the car now. So it only averages 3,500 miles or less per year. So, I mean, the previous people did own it, did drive it, but not in excess. And again, me keeping the miles low probably has helped hold that resale value. Again, if I paid 65 for it, I could probably sell it for 65, give or take. But had I doubled the mileage, let's say I put 10,000 miles on this car every year for the last 4 years. I bought it with 39,000 and change. It'd be at 80 now if I put another 40 on it in the last 4 years. It would not be worth 65 grand, right? It'd be more like 50,000 or 55 maybe if it's in great shape. But, so anyway, there's some of that, but check out the Hagerty indexes, you guys. Just go Google it, take a look. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is there a car on there that surprises you? There were a couple that kind of shocked me, maybe not on the supercar index, but if you start looking into those other indexes, there are some, I'll call them obscure cars that it, to me was kind of funny that they're pacing the market on some of those cars. So again, that's just my opinion. You might think every car is more than worthy and deserving, and that's awesome. So comment down below and let me know. Otherwise, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and most importantly, remember, may every investment you make be a good one. Till next time.